She's a divorced woman from New Jersey who runs a fish food store. That's her actual identity. This has been covered all over NAFO spaces because it was NAFO who broke this story. The NAFO people, if you don't know, if you're on Twitter all the time, they're the cartoon dogs that are brain damaged on Twitter. I've been called by, I think it was like the International called me an influential NAFO member.
Cheese Wizard has donated $30. Money for the Sad Sonic Funeral Fund.
Thank you for the $30 for my Sad Sonic funeral. I appreciate it. Rest in peace, Dylan Burns. They called me, I think they called me a central NAFO figure. But anyway, so I guess I have some authority to speak on NAFO now as a central NAFO figure, when all I've done is put 4 letters in my Twitter description. It's basically just like an online internet meme. That's really all it is, where people like Larp as a cartoon dog and they go and reply to like Kremlin disinformation and ratio it, or they post information that counters it, etc. That's the main thing it does. It also has raised a lot of money for St. Javelin. It has raised a lot of money. I know in the past it used to raise a lot of money for Georgian Legion. I don't see it raise as much money for the Georgian Legion anymore. I've seen it raise money for demining. I've seen it raise money for SignMyRocket.com. I've seen it raise money for a ton of different Ukrainian-based charities. And they have shown that this girl called Donbass Girl, if you do not know her, Donbass Girl here is very well known in the pro-Russia sphere and the Vatnik sphere. She has, I think, around 300,000 followers across all of her social media platforms, if you include, Twitter, Telegram, etc. And according to her, for a while, this is what she's been saying, that she is a Ukrainian in the Donetsk, I think it was Luhansk Oblast, who is, surviving through the war, getting through the war, and is taking donations to coordinate it with the local groups to support the resistance against the Banderite Ukraino-Nazis. That was her statement. That's what her character was. And I'm calling it a character, and that'll make sense in a second. She has collaborated with people like Jimmy Dore, Garland Nixon, Jackson Hinkle, Scott Ritter, and a bunch of other people. I know she's collaborated with a bunch of different content creators. I could never give a full rundown of all the people that she's fooled, all the people that she's run the pockets of, all the people that she tricked, even though it didn't take much effort to trick them, apparently, because once you really see the effort she put in, it was not a lot. Point is, she was lying. She's actually not from Donetsk. She's not from Luhansk. She's not from the Donbass at all. She's not Russian. She also claims she was Jewish. She's not Jewish either. She said that in order to criticize George Soros and to make a bunch of other posts about being Jewish and weaponizing her made-up Jewish identity to say, I'm not anti-Semitic. In fact, I'm Jewish, and then would go on a rant. All of this is made up. She lives in the United States and runs a fish store, as in fish tanks and fish food. She's a divorced woman from New Jersey who runs a fish food store. That's her actual identity. Now, I will not be showing her real name. I will not be showing all of the methods used to confirm her, but it is a done deal now. You can probably find much of this online. In fact, I think I can show a little bit of the information to confirm this, because honestly, it wasn't that hard. She didn't make it an incredibly difficult job. She did not make it that hard. Let's see if I can show you one of the more obvious ways that this was done. Dude, this is so bad. Let's see if I can find, here it is. Listen, okay. To be clear, this is somebody who has been extremely hateful online. I don't know if it's shown in this thread, but she has, called Ukrainians coholes, which is like a slur for them. She posts the bodies of Ukrainian soldiers and kind of glorifies it. Her page was one of the original pages that the posts that edited the leaked US documents, the actual Russian disinformation posts originated. She's worked a lot with Rybar, the like Russian, the pro-Russian military, very heavily associated with the Russian military OPSEC account, and she's done fundraising with them by selling merchandise in favor of the Russian army. This is somebody who's going on a million different podcasts. This is somebody with decent influence in the pro-Russia sphere. Look at all the people. I mean, I already said this earlier, but look at all the people she's done stuff with. Scott Ritter, Garland Nixon, Jackson Hinkle, all these different people. Gonzalo Lira, also known as Coach Red Pill, another person. All these different people. Now, listen to the Russian accent. That was enough to fool them. Listen to this. Listen to the wait. Do we have the actual Russian accent? Here it is.
All this time.
No. Where's the Russian accent? Because this isn't the Russian accent. This is her without a Russian accent. Does anybody have a fake Russian accent? Here it is.
I was born in Rostov and I lived in Donbass, and I've lived in the West, and I've also lived in the East outside of Russia. And I've lived in EU, and I've lived in...
Yeah, you're a perfect example of what I'm saying. Russians are great at adopting at different places, different cultures.
You're talking about assimilation, and Russians are that's great at assimilating, but Russians are good at respecting. If you say, oh, I'm a girl, well, yeah, sure, you're a girl, but those are just descriptors. Those are just things that you use to describe yourself. And same thing with liberal. And I think that the United States would be a really good place to study that kind of philosophical stuff, because
dude, there's like no Russian accent. She just sounds American. This is supposed to be a Russian accent. She doesn't even... How did nobody notice this? Listen to this.
Don't mean anything there anymore, and everybody's just kind of like, this person's fascist and this person's communist, and you're just like, people looking in are like, well, where's the Overton window here? Because everybody's either fascist or communist, and there's no communism in the United States. Maybe a little bit of fascism, but like, what's really going on? So I did.
That's it. And the thing is, it wasn't that... Honestly, we could go into like all the other ways they proved exactly who she is, but you just listen to her voice on her podcast. She didn't even remove all the videos online of her promoting her fish website, of her website where she sells fish. And it's the same voice. Listen, this is a totally separate video where she's promoting her fish website.
Fry. So most of the foods, if you go to the website, and you'll see that there's different collections, and there's a discus food, dry food. So you'll see all of the foods that are specific to discus. There's color enhancing.
It's the
there's
same.
The pellets.
It's the same voice. It's the exact same voice. It's no different. This, and to be clear, this fooled Jimmy Dore. This fooled Jackson Hinkle. This fooled Garland Nixon. This fooled Scott Ritter. This fooled a whole host of dumb fools on the internet. But it isn't that surprising that this was able to fool all these dumb fools on the internet, because they're not willing to do the necessary amount of research to, run their own shows properly when it comes to not spreading disinformation. So it isn't that crazy that somebody with a fake Russian accent who lives in the United States and doesn't even like know Russian that well, like the way she actually spelled Donbass girl in her name isn't even how you would properly spell it. And she didn't even spell it properly. She didn't even do it in the proper way. The name of her identity, of her persona, was not done in the correct grammatically. The grammar wise, it wasn't even correct. All while doing the worst supposedly Russian accent. It's hard to even tell that she's trying to put on a Russian accent here. She just sounds like a Yankoid. This doesn't sound somebody who's from the middle of Luhansk. I've met people from Luhansk. They don't sound like they're from the middle of the Midwest, man. They don't sound like this. And this is incredibly embarrassing for anybody who associate with this person, went on the podcast and entertained this person. I mean, look, obviously you cannot hold everybody directly responsible for her tricking them because they weren't involved in it. But what you can say is this does show a lack of ability to do research, a lack of ability to do any digging on the type of shows you go on, right? Because it's not like this was a secret and this was covered up. I mean, it was a secret in the way that she didn't openly say she was American, but anybody who did just like a cursory Google search could have found this information out, probably. Just listening to this information, trying to do some digging on this person's background, and you don't find what you're looking for, and you just listen, and it's like, oh, that doesn't sound very Russian. The fact that she got away with this for this long just shows how little effort is put in to the Vatnik spaces in checking the people around them. The fact that she agreed with them was enough. The fact that she agreed with them and was willing to be the stooge and pretend to be a Ukrainian who loves the Russian invasion was enough, because they don't have any. Because Scott Ritter, Jackson Hinkle, Gonzalo Lira, all these fools cannot get Ukrainians to go on camera and do this for Western audiences. Why? Because there's not a lot of them. There isn't a lot of them. The vast majority of Ukrainians hate the Russian invasion. And so the fact that they found somebody who seemed to speak such perfect English, very communicatable English to Western audience, was a godsend. So they took her, and they ran with her and didn't ask any questions. 0 questions. This is the type of stuff that would get you fired if you fell for this type of stuff at a normal news company. But because it's alt media, there's no repercussions. We just all keep on rolling. My goodness, man. This is sad. This is really, really sad.